Welcome to the School of Morton podcast. I'm Scotty Campbell with WWE Hall of Famer Ricky Morton of the Rock and Roll Express. Ricky, how are things at the WWE Performance Center in the Sunshine State of Florida this week?
Oh, man, let me tell you. I was down in Largo, Florida last Saturday, and it's right there at Treasure Island. Matter of fact, that's the home of Hulk Hogan. I've been out there in the sun all day. Then the next day we went to Cocoa Beach, and I'm absolutely lobster toast. I got burned up. But, man, did we have a great time. But, man, at the Performance Center, it's just unbelievable. I hope that everybody in this business that works hard enough to just be able to experience what these guys do down here at the Performance Center, PC. Man, you just can't believe some of the talent they got in there. But, a lot of people don't understand that. These guys had to work so hard just to get where they're at today. This is even before they went to the Performance Center. They had to be noticed, and they're out there. And it's not the part about what kind of moves you do. It's about learning our business. Before you can understand our business, you have to learn to love it. I grew up in a wrestling family. I was fortunate. I was trained a lot. But, man, what great guys. I got to seen Paul White down there today. Jeff Hardy. Man, Ricochet's in there. Man, he is just out here just ripping it apart. One of the best athletes I've seen. One of the most agile person I've seen in the ring in a long time, Scotty. Just a great time, having a great day going on down there.
Now, on the end of the trainers, the training, and the agents, any familiar faces that maybe we used to see, those of us who are fans maybe used to see on TV, and perhaps you used to work with?
Oh, man, York Foundation, Terry Taylor, me and Terry Taylor, he's down here, Scotty Too Hottie. Norman Smiley. Now, some of the girl wrestlers they got in there are just unbelievable with talent they got. When you come to the Performance Center, you see the stars of the future. And they got great, great trainers. And they earn their money down here. I got to say, Matt Bloom really knows. He's the man for the job. He's really good. I learn a lot. He's like me. I've been in this, I've been in for 46 years. Been in business since I was a kid with my daddy, but where I didn't know nothing about it. And it's like I try to tell these people, when you stop learning, you need to quit. You think you know everything. You need to quit. Because you don't learn it all. I'm telling you, I can't wait to get back to the School of Morton to do some stuff, show these guys some things, what's going on. New things that I have learned, Matter of fact, the School of Morton is doing real good. Man, we're going to be back in Irwin, Tennessee, April the 14th, Scotty, and gosh, we had a record-breaking crowd there last time. Man, they're doing great. They're coming along so well, too. And you never know. If you come to School of Morton show, who knows? You might see the next star of the future there, too, because that's the road leading to everything. In order to learn our business, really, really got to be a bit, give somebody that knows what they're doing. Not trying to be mean, but I meet people every day that think they know everything about our business. They really don't know nothing. If you're down here in the Florida area, if you can't get to the Performance Center, which it's the view, but you got to have people to train right here in Kissimmee, Florida, right outside of Orlando. Team 3D Academy, Billy Gunn, he's a co-trainer there. Guys ought to get a hold of him, if you're down in this area. Remember, it's Team 3D Academy. Robert Gibson has a school up in Douglasville, Georgia, George South over in North Carolina. Ricky Morton, right there in Chucky, Tennessee. Guys, come and see us. We have you people showing up every day, coming to our school, and great kids, and it's just enjoyable. I'm gone, and right now I'm at the Performance Center. I'll be back next week. I know James Strange and his wife Lisa, they're in there working hard. James, the people only understood how much work that James puts into the School of Morton, then you would really appreciate it. It's a lot more than you just walking through that door. James keeps it updated. Really good. Matter of fact, the school's growing so big, we had to order you another new ring. It'll be 4 wrestling rings.
Oh, wow.
Yes, man. And be looking, and everybody works hard down there. Chase Owens will be coming back from Japan. He'll be down there training with us. So, guys out there getting arrested, but you have to find somebody that knows what they're doing. And like I'm going to go back to what I said, you can't go to somebody that thinks they know that don't know, okay? You be taking one step forward and 50 steps backwards.
If individuals want to attend a School of Morton show, they're listed on Facebook all the time, constantly updated on Facebook at School of Morton. And you can hit RickyMortonOnline.com. Now, Ricky, I've got some questions here that people have sent in this week. Twitter's blowing up. Twitter at Real Ricky Morton and at Scotty is on. SCOTTY is on if you want to throw one in for next week. Here we go. Conrad Thompson, that co-hosts the Something to Wrestle With podcast with Bruce Pritchard. Conrad was asked which tag team he prefers, the Midnight Express or the Rock and Roll Express. He says, I enjoyed the Midnights because I like the Hills, but as far as the Rock and Roll Express goes, Ricky Morton is one of the most underrated performers of all time, is one of the all-time greats, maybe top 5 most underrated. How would you react to those words, Ricky?
Oh, well, I mean, Chad, how would I react to it, Scott? Should I get mad? I'm just kidding, man. You know what, man? When I know some Conrad, that's a great, man, what a great compliment. I worked very hard in this business. So when people like that see, and you got to understand, see, Conrad's a guy that knows a little bit about our business. You know, you're saying he understands. And see, but you have to understand our business before you can really say anything or throw your judgment towards anything. And, you know, Conrad's been around for a while, you know, and I just want to say, Conrad, thank you very much. You know, and when I walk into the performance school, you know, I have the guys coming up asking me questions and trying to answer them and working with them and showing them ways to do it to make their match a lot better. Man, to be in the top 5 in Conrad's column, man, that's a great compliment. Thank you, Conrad.
Via Twitter, Matthew said, please ask Ricky what his favorite match is with Smoky Mountain Wrestling, in the Tri-Cities specifically, or really anywhere else in the territory at the time, and what was or is his favorite venue in the Tri-Cities.
And if nobody's ever seen this, you know, me and Jimmy Cornette talked about this on the podcast. You know, in our business, you have to work for something. And we worked for like 6 months telling the story about the Loser League Town. This is in Smoky Mountain. You know, what happened in Pikeville in the cage match, Loser League Town. Jimmy Cornette calls it the throwing the babies in the air finish. So it was a great story, though. And really, in Smoky Mountain, that was one of my greatest finishes when it came to the Loser League Town match in Pikeville, Kentucky.
And as far as venues where Smoky Mountain Wrestling ran shows, my favorite personally would have to be Johnson City, Freedom Hall. So many memories and so many clashes right there.
You know, I love Johnson City. But matter of fact, I came up and made Tri-Cities my home after, you know, because we wrestled, when we came to the Tri-Cities, it was Johnson City, Tennessee. I love Knoxville, too. But the Smoky Mountain area is there, man. It caught my heart after all these years. But a lot of the venues were great. I loved all the venues. But, you know, I love Johnson City, too. But I was just talking about matches and finishes as it was the Pikeville, Kentucky one. But, you know, my feelings toward the Tri-City area, Scotty, I love Bristol, Johnson City, Kingsport. It's a great place to live. Great place to raise your kids, too.
Question from Canada. This is from Todd. I was born and raised in the Mecca of Canadian pro wrestling, Calgary, Alberta. Home of Stampede Wrestling, where our heroes are the Hart Foundation, Chris Jericho, the British Bulldogs, Edge and Christian, Lance Storm, and of course, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart. My father has said the British Bulldogs versus the Rock and Roll Express was one of the most anticipated matches in Canadian wrestling history. What the Rock and Roll Express and the Midnights meant to the South, the Bulldogs and the Hart Foundation meant to the North. Ricky, what are your memories of that match, and what kind of reputation did the Calgary Stampede territory have amongst the southern United States territories? And I love the podcast. Thanks, Todd.
Man, Kelly, thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate that. You have to understand, when the British Bulldogs wrestled, when we wrestled the British Bulldogs, that was in Kansas City, and that was from Old Japan Baba. It's one of their shows. What people don't realize is when we wrestled that match, you know, in the building outside, it must have been 6 feet of snow. It snowed like that whole week. It was so cold, Scotty, that I couldn't get warmed up. Matter of fact, I had a big coat on, gloves, and a hat standing back there till they played our music to come out. and I'm trying to get in the ring. It took me a lot. It took me just about the 30-minute mark just to get where I could really do something. But you got to understand, man, the British Bulldogs, good gosh, man, you know, their reputation precedes itself. They're unbelievable. That's why they were so good. A lot of the wrestlers, man, a lot of your top stars came from Canada, and great. But to me, everything meant the same thing. Even though you have different styles, different things. You know, it's like I'm over here, the guys from the UK, they're all different styles. You have some guys from Australia that wrestle another style. The guys from Brazil that wrestle different styles. But it's the same thing. You know, Canadian, but, you know, every country had its own style, but everything means the same. And when you love this business, you know, you can make it all work out. I love all of them, man. The Hart, you know, can't forget, leave Stu Hart out of that. He was one of the greatest, too. And that's what I got to say to that.
Got one that says, my name is Bobby, and I talked to Ricky Morton at the big-time wrestling event in Bluefield, West Virginia. He also says he ran into you at a place called Rockers. He says, that being said, you have any good memories of wrestling in Bluefield, and what would it take to bring back to the area action on the regular?
I'm going to be back in Bluefield on June the 2nd. We're going to be at the auditorium that night. You know, Bluefield was one of our towns. We ran out of Smoky Mountain, too. We ran it a lot there in Princeton. At Bluefield, you know, I remember the first time I ever wrestled in Bluefield. That was for the Jimmy Crockett. That was NWA. We wrestled at the auditorium over there. Had a great time. And in Bluefield, too, I was sort of, guys, you know, we did a concert over there. You know, and me, I'm the greatest air guitar player in the world. But, no, we had a great memory there, man. My wife's band, and I got up to the number with them. They opened up for 38 Special. Had a great time over there. It's, you know, even outside the wrestling business.
And got one more I want to share here. Triple H announced via Twitter that they're having WrestleMania next year in the New York, New Jersey area. And Triple H says that area means a lot of things, but most importantly, it means WWE is home. And they're excited to see the return to the MetLife Stadium for next year for WrestleMania 35. We're talking a venue that's home of the New York Jets, New York Football Giants, a past Super Bowl, WrestleMania 29, and the world's biggest events in the past, East Rutherford, New Jersey. This time, MetLife Stadium. Next year, WrestleMania 35. Ricky, they're stacking up, aren't they?
Well, you know what? The WrestleMania at the Super Bowls, the cities are starting to bid for them. When you have a venue like WrestleMania, you know, it's a lot of revenue into your cities. A lot of things are going on. It's just not WrestleMania on that Sunday, but you have a lot of people coming into town, even for different venues, professional wrestling, you know, WrestleCons. It's a lot of things. So, when you have something like that right there, it's just you're making those cities a lot of money. As to be, I think New York would be a great place to go back. It'd be, you know what, it's a lot. And it's not only for WWE, it's independent boys. Scotty. Guys make a lot of money up there, and that's what we do for a living. You know, even though I'm a WWE Hall of Famer, but I never forgot where I come from. And the boys is who I stand for. And I think it's a great thing.
You're going to be on the road a whole lot when your time as a guest trainer wraps up here in the next week or so at the WWE Performance Center. I see Clayton, North Carolina, Saturday, March 24th, the 10th annual Ivan Koloff Memorial Tag Team Tournament.
That's this Saturday night.
You're going to be in the house.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be in the house, man. And then the following Saturday night, March 31st, Robert and I are going to be in Evansville, Indiana, at the old War Memorial Building that we wrestled in 40 years ago. It's the same building that Jerry Jarrett ran every Wednesday night for years. It's been a long time since Robert and I have been there. All the fans, all the old fans, y'all come out and see us next Saturday night because Robert and I will be there early, like we always do. We'll be out there signing the autographs and doing our thing. Then the week after that, Scotty, is when we head to New Orleans, getting ready for WrestleCon. I'll be at the House of Hardcore wrestling that night. Robert and I both will. On that Saturday night, we'll be at WrestleCon signing autographs, and then I think we have to sneak on over to WrestleMania. So you guys be ready for us. I'm looking forward. A lot of excitement coming up and a lot of things going on in our life, in the business, Scotty.
Fun time. Now, WrestleCon's extra packed and stacked this year, and I'll get into some of those names ahead. But, Ricky, I guess I better let you get back at it.
Well, I sure do. I've got to get going. But before I do go, I want to tell everybody out there, guys, you're looking for a great great bargain on T-shirts. I'd like for you to go in big letters now. This is big letters, collar and elbow, brand.com, and put in the code word Morton, and you get 30% off each order that you get. Now, if you looking for some great Rock and Roll Express T-shirts or Ricky Morton T-shirts, pro wrestling tees, man, they got a bargain there for you too. But I just want to tell everybody out there, thank you very much for listening to our podcast. In the near future, we'll be having some great guests coming up on our show. Scotty, you know what? It's back into the PC. Got to go back to work. Guys, thank you very much. Scotty, see you next week, my friend.
See you, Ricky.
Bye, buddy.
So just a bit ago, Ricky Morton was talking to us live from Florida. He's at the WWE Performance Center this week and had some downtime on the schedule where he's serving as a guest trainer. Next week, he'll be right back here in the studio in the good old volunteer state of Tennessee. As for now, I would like to welcome our guest at this time, somebody that Ricky Morton talked about very briefly actually on today's show and has mentioned many times in the past, James Strange. Hello, James.
What's up, Scotty?
Well, just hanging out, and I thought this would be a great opportunity, since Ricky's out of town, for you and I to sit down and talk about the origins of the School of Morton, since you have been and are such a large part of the school. Now, let's walk back in time. Before we get into the School of Morton, can you tell me what year, roundabout, you and Ricky Morton met each other and how that may have came about?
Probably 1992, 93. I had a show at a car dealership in South Carolina, and I was one of the spoilers with Bud Adams in Tennessee for many years, and we had them on the show, worked the Rock and Roll Express against the spoilers. It's probably about 5,000 people there. It was ridiculous.
Very nice. That's a good crowd. How can a body draw that way these days? It's changed a lot, hasn't it?
I don't know if you can or not.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many terrible indie groups out there right now killing our business with horrible shows. That's why Ricky goes on, if you're an indie worker already, we've had guys come in with 5 or 6 years experience, and they're not as good as the guy we've had there at the school for 2 or 3 months. So it shows, footwork and just a lot of things he talks about. He can make you better, that's for sure.
Most definitely. Now, that relationships went on a long time where you all have known each other and worked on cards at the same time. How did the concept or idea of the School of Morton show up? Where did that come from?
Well, I've had a school with Jimmy Valiant in South Carolina for many years. And when we moved, I closed it and we moved to Tennessee from Charlotte, where I'd lived probably 25 years, and promoted in South Carolina. And when we moved home, I had a little wrestling promotion in Knoxville, NWA Rocky Top, when I was a member of the NWA in 2005. And we really thought it was going to go very well, but our money backer left us, and Tom Pritchard helped me, and Jimmy Golden were booking that show, and it went really well. But then when it was costing a lot of money to do the TV, and we went out, and I just totally got out of the business, sold everything I had. I don't know, we just wanted to start a school, and I never made my living wrestling, and I was in the car business all these years, and if you're going to have a school, it's nice to have a name behind it too. Who else would you get that lives in our area but Ricky Morton? So we actually sat down about 5 years ago at Cheddar's for lunch, me and my son and Ricky, and we came up with the idea. We'd already came up with the name, and the reason being is because, our slogan was going to be "Get Some," S-O-M. So that's why we called it School of Morton. And actually, it's been really cool because the logo and the name is just stuck. When people talk about School of Morton, they know what it is. They know it's Ricky Morton's wrestling school. So I thought that's pretty cool. But it took us a year to get it open, just finding a building. So once we did get our building, we had to get something we could afford so we could make it sure that, we're going to get a long-term business, and that's why we got lucky that, the building's been a blessing and a curse at the same time because I've had to spend a lot of money because it's old on repairs. And right now I have $1,000+ worth of electrical stuff that needs to be done at that building now. So it's constantly taking money to put back into it.
So a lot of reinvestment and investment in the school itself, in the building, in the infrastructure.
We don't. I don't think we've made a penny since we've been there. We put everything back, as Ricky talks about. Ricky doesn't take any money for his time ever. Every penny we make goes back into the school. Which, we started out with a homemade 14-foot ring that sits on the floor that actually my son's built, which was probably a mistake when we did it because we could have probably we just bought a new ring. They're building it now, Monster Ring, Mike Samples. Best ring in the world. I'm going to shout out to him now. I mean, we were at Irwin at a show, and we tore down and set up. We were out of there in 30 minutes with his ring, and I mean, we had a big entranceway and everything. It's just so easy to set up and take down. It's ridiculous. His rings are great. Best I've ever saw.
Monster Rings. Now, Ricky mentioned earlier that makes, is it the 4th ring for the School of Morton?
Yeah, it is. It's our 4th. This one will be our show ring. It's going to sit on, it's like I said, we continue to invest. I personally bought a enclosed trailer, and we're going to have that ring on it all the time. It'll never come off of it. It'll be our show ring because we have 5 shows, in fact, next month.
Stacked calendar. You can see all the details about those shows on Facebook at School of Morton. And while I've got you, James, here, also there are a lot of video clips that people can take a look at on the School of Morton page. Anything recent in particular you want to highlight?
We got, some interviews with some of our guys for the upcoming show in Irwin. Ryan Price, Bronson Garrett. Every day we constantly update all the time. So yeah, if you just watch our page, we have a pretty good following on our Facebook, and we're starting to gain some traction on YouTube. Plus all the clips from the previous podcast. I think I put up 5 or 6 today just for that. Plus a couple videos. So, that's something I do every day. I'll spend 2 or 3 hours working on the Facebook page every day.
I was telling somebody just the other day, outside of the business, I mean, of course I'm a fan myself, but we were talking about other things outside of the business, and social media and the growth needed in many business areas. It takes a lot of time and investment of one's time and energy just to make those things happen. So Facebook at School of Morton, take a nice solid look at it. A lot of good info there. Well, James, I heard there was an incident at the school recently.
Oh, what?
I heard there was an incident at the school recently.
No, it's been a year or more ago. Really, I don't want to talk about it. Listen, what happened was unfortunate, and we apologized at the end of it. As far as I was concerned, even that day, it was over. There's no issue there whatsoever. In fact, I respect the guy that, everything that happened, and it was just unfortunate. It really was. I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay. All right. Now fast forward. Fair enough. I'll take it. Now, fast forwarding to today and the future, as far as these upcoming shows go for the School of Morton, how do you choose which towns and negotiation of venues and things like that? Because I know people like to be taken behind the curtain these days.
It's like the first of the year we decided to run Irwin once a month. It's been a really good town. We run Rogersville, but not all the time, maybe twice a year. We're starting to get a few shows. Looks like we're going to be going into Virginia coming up. We have several of the fairs that we're going to. Jefferson County Fair this year, Greene County Fair that we did for the last 3 years. Then we're doing a show at Astro Stadium, which will be Red Stadium in Greenville. That's in June. Ricky and Robert both will be there for that show. It's on a Thursday night. Yeah, but I mean, we're, growing, doing outside shows, but we normally don't bring anybody in. I've used Shane Williams, and we've used Chase Owens, Elliott Russell, Menace, Lenny Stratton, a few guys from the outside. But normally our shows are all for our guys on our roster.
Now, with the talent on your roster, on the School of Morton roster today, will you kind of give me some insight into how they link up with you? How have they found the school? How has the school found the students?
Well, most of the time it's Facebook, or I've had some of the guys, one guy heard about it on the Stone Cold podcast. When Ricky was on Stone Cold's podcast, he heard about it. But, I didn't know Luscious was crying on his way to the school. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, he told us that on last week's episode. RickyMortonOnline.com, by the way, is where folks can download it in case they missed it. But sure enough, that's what he told us.
So, it's interesting how people find us. And, it's funny. We have people come and go all the time. I'm more excited about our roster right now. We got some really good talent on our roster. We really, really do. And they're learning from Ricky. It's not just like he talks about flippity flop. It's more about entertaining the people. You've been to some of our shows. It's pretty entertaining. I know, it's amazing. It's just like when we started School of Morton. I had 10 phone calls about, it'll never work. You're crazy. It's East Tennessee. Everybody's a pro wrestler. Everybody thinks they are. But now we're going on our 5th year. We're about to have our 4th Paul Martin Cup, and we're going to be in year 5, and we're going strong. And I have bigger plans and dreams for that place. Yeah, I constantly think big. It's just I've been going slow with this and trying to build a good foundation.
Well, I definitely am of the mind that a foundation is a very important part of any business platform or puzzle, frankly. And why do you think it is in the wrestling business, and again, I'm just a fan, but why do you think there are so many naysayers when a school or promotion or even a talent wants to branch out?
If you notice that when we started our school, 10 other people started schools too, which I don't know if they're even around anymore. Everybody wanted to have a school. But we have one thing that nobody else has, and that's a WWE Hall of Famer. We've got somebody that's been there, done that, made his living in the wrestling business. And if you listen to him, you're going to learn a hell of a lot. It's just the bottom line. If you say, well, Joe Blow trained me, well, who's that? Well, a lot of these indie guys who think they know everything. We have guys come to our school and work for a month or two, and they don't want to do the work. They want all the glory. Now they think they're wrestlers. I know Ricky was at a show and saw a couple of our former students that had come off and on part-time, and he said their match was horrible. And he jumped all over them after their match and said, guys, you need to come back and train. But obviously both of those guys are so ego, they're just not going to. They think they already know everything.
As far as the training aspect goes, what happens when somebody learns fundamentals, learns psychology, gets out on the road? What would somebody like that be missing? I'm just trying to get a better grasp on that. Like, what are they losing sight of?
Well, I still think they're watching too much TV. Vince McMahon and those guys are trying to sell something completely different, I think, than what a lot of the local fans. I don't know how to totally explain that. It's like Ricky talks about his dad tried to tell him, and, it's just, you don't listen to your mom and dad. You'll figure it out when you're about my age. Hey, that guy was probably right, what he said to me. A lot of times it's hard to get through to these guys, It really is.
Well, I've seen...
But we teach fundamentals. We teach a lot of fundamentals, footwork, and that kind of stuff. And then we've had a lot of people come in and do seminars. One of the better ones was Road Warrior Animal. That was really awesome. And we've had Manny Fernandez who came in who was great. Tom Pritchard has been there. Bobby Eaton's been there. Just a lot of different people. Our place is not just the school, man. It's a museum. It's been a labor of love for me hanging pictures.
There are a bunch of items at the School of Morton that I would encourage people to see. Maybe they're planning a trip for this summer. maybe into the fall. Who knows what somebody else has on their calendar. But, James, I would encourage people, really, if they've never been to the School of Morton in Chuckey, Tennessee, if there's a vacation going on, maybe plan it where they can look at the Facebook at School of Morton, perhaps send a message there, make sure when the show date is, they'll see them on the calendar, and line it up to where they can take a look around, because there's a lot to see just while somebody's there to view a live show.
Oh, yeah, there's so much history on our walls. It's ridiculous. It really, truly is. Ricky saved a lot of memorabilia over the years. And then we've had a lot of guys give us stuff. We got Jim Cornette. We got a couple of his tennis rackets. A lot of T-shirts, hit photos, autographs. Then you have all of Ricky's Hall of Fame stuff that he was given by Vince McMahon. Just a lot of stuff. It's cool to come in. People don't realize, think it's a gym. They're going to come and see this gym, and then they come in, and it's like, wow, this is awesome. So if you love wrestling and you're a fan, it's really cool to see, because we have autographs from the guys now to way back, the Fargo brothers, anybody you can think of just about. Andre the Giant, Harley Race. It's ridiculous.
One day, Ricky showed me a prized piece in the collection of School of Morton-related memorabilia of wrestling history of Chief Wahoo McDaniel.
Yeah, he has a football card that's signed by Wahoo. Yeah, it's put up in a case. But, Wahoo he's got a lot of photos of Wahoo, too.
A lot of memories and new memories to be created, quite frankly. Now, as far as people who are wrestling today on the independent scene, and you were talking about Ricky Morton interacting with some former students that he saw. James, as far as the styles go, there are a lot of styles in the business these days, a lot of different types of presentation. A New Japan show looks nothing like a WWE show, which looks nothing like Impact, for example, in my opinion. And with those differences, I just wondered if you want to take a moment here and highlight maybe some of the different types of wrestling that there are within the bigger umbrella.
Well, I watch a lot of the stuff just to try to keep up with what the guys are watching. I watch WWE, Lucha Underground. I don't watch New Japan. Probably should, but I don't watch it. I watch some of Ring of Honor. Then I've watched Booker T's show out in Houston. So I watch a lot of the independent show stuff that's on, just trying to keep up with what, and I don't know, a lot of people think I'm full of shit, excuse my French, but I like a lot of the old school stuff. That's what we've been doing, is a lot of old school type stuff. And, we grew pretty well, not what I really want to, but we grew pretty good. We had a pretty good house in Irwin, our last show. It continues to grow and not go the other way. So I guess that's a good thing.
Well, and even if you look at the ratings of WWE Monday Night Raw and for SmackDown, those numbers are up and down, but they're fairly consistent, not seeing a whole lot of growth, if any. So I think that translates in a sense to attendance at independent shows. How important do you think current day TV product is in terms of getting people out to shows or creating an interest in professional wrestling / sports entertainment for people to go to indie shows across the country and the world?
Well, with the social media and YouTube, you can get your product out there. I think most of the guys that have TV shows are more, I don't know how many viewers they have, but I think it's more of the boys marking out to be on that particular show instead of, drawing people to their shows. One of the guys been on TV for 10 years. I know they're up and down, but they draw pretty well. I respect the guy. He's been around for a long time. Probably the better show in our area. But I think a lot of times the guys just, because you have that TV, they give it too much. I don't think you have to have it now, not with the internet.
I agree with you on that, and also what I'm also wondering is it, how important is it to the type, not so much having not so much a promotion having its own show. on television. I'm thinking more so about how important is WWE's current day viewership. Do people get really excited with their children and families? Does that translate a whole lot into business at the box office locally, if you will, at the ticket counter, if you will, or is it more about what's developed locally, how you've beat the streets and gotten posters up and all those things?
Well, I tell you what, if we had for advertising shows, if you had the magic bullet, you'd be a genius, because I don't know what gets the people to come, because we put out posters and, I do videos on Facebook and YouTube, and what we found out about our YouTube page is people only watch the videos about 2 minutes. Then once we started putting those podcasts up, we went to 12 minutes. All right. So I don't know. People's attention span is not very long anymore. That's why we do highlight videos of matches and put them up, that are 2 or 3 minutes long. Instead of, we did some 30-minute stuff, 28-minute stuff where we actually put some matches and things up, but, we weren't getting the watch time according to YouTube and Facebook analytics.
So what you've started doing...
I don't know if I have the answer to that one,
Well, I think if we did, we'd all be making a whole lot of money somehow. Now, as far as the YouTube goes and the video clips, I know you're rolling a lot out clips from the School of Morton podcast, where we've had guests on the show in the past. We're up to 25 episodes today. I can't believe how fast time goes. And it won't be long till it's been a year since the podcast was relaunched, and Ricky gave me the opportunity to be here to work with you all and talk about matters related to the business. But you mentioned the attention span, James, and I don't think that's only specific to wrestling. I think that's a big deal and a tough thing to tackle in many areas of life today, because I guess where people have the perception, yes, we still have the same 24 hours we had 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, but that 24 hours seems to be action-packed if we're not careful, doesn't it?
Well, you have to remember, when I grew up, we had 3 channels, and we had one wrestling, and it was on at 1 o'clock on Saturday. And that's when you watched it. That was Southeastern with Ron Fuller and those guys here in Knoxville. And then if you wanted to watch Mid-Atlantic, you had to stay up till 11:30 at night, turn the antenna to get Channel 13 out of Asheville. It was fuzzy. But I remember you used to watch it. But nowadays, you can watch wrestling 24/7. And you can watch it all the time. Watch old matches. It's ridiculous.
And back in those days, later on even, when pay-per-view really started getting cranked up, you had to go through so many hoops just to be able to watch a pay-per-view. It wasn't as simple as pulling up an internet browser and signing on to a website, was it?
No, it was not. And, I didn't even watch the WrestleManias when they first started. Couldn't get them. I don't even know we had cable till I moved to Charlotte. There's
been a lot of changes in the business over the years, James Strange, and I think back a lot. One of my favorite time periods was Jim Crockett Promotions in the mid to late 1980s especially. What a time that was, at least from my perspective, and I know a lot of fans feel that way too. Any of the performers from that period particularly stick with you in terms of their importance to the business at that time and perhaps legacies that are living on?
I've always been a huge fan of Harley Race. That was one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I loved him. I guess that goes back to Southeastern, him coming in and defending the world title. And, because we got to see a few of those. In fact, I have a picture I blew up that I took in, I think, 1974 or 75 of Harley wrestling Ron Fuller at the Knoxville Coliseum. In fact, it was one of the biggest draws, I think, ever at the Coliseum. A good friend of mine, Tony Basilio in Knoxville, is doing the Studcast with Ron Fuller at Knoxville. So if you want to really get some history about our business, people should listen to that podcast, too. It's a good one. Yeah, he's going through his family history, and Basilio does a good job on that podcast, too. It's really good.
And it's available for free download, too, on the Internet. And I tell you, I'm amazed, James, at how the reach of these wrestling-related podcasts has really grown in the past few years or so. Makes me wonder what the landscape's going to look like in a year or two, because there have been so many to pop up from different performers in different places, different age brackets too, which is one of the most fascinating aspects to me. You have some really young podcasters and you have some way up in age, but I think ultimately it helps the business be stronger. Do you think that, or do you disagree with me?
Well, I think it helps people learn the history of the business. I think everybody should learn. A lot of our guys, we talk about you need to know the history of our business. We have the greatest tag team wrestler ever in the history of the business. And I told our guys, you need to be studying his matches, studying video, because there's plenty of it out there.
A lot of footage and a lot of packed houses over the years, too. No doubt about it. Now, as far as the history of the business goes, in addition to Harley Race and Ricky Morton, anybody stand out to you as memorable? And before you get into that, I have to say this. I remember watching Harley Race feud with the Junkyard Dog. Two of the most incredible performers I've ever had a chance to see.
I think one of my favorite angles of all time was Robert Fuller and Jimmy Golden against the Superstars in Knoxville, and it was awesome. It just sticks out in my head because it was so. And in those matches, we went actually to the Coliseum and saw some of their matches live. And then becoming a worker myself, my grandfather got me into wrestling 40 years ago or more. And then I actually got to wrestle Jimmy at the Marshtown Armory one night. And I really didn't know him. That's the first time I'd ever met him. And I stepped in the ring, and it was like, I don't know how to explain it. It was kind of overwhelming because it was my grandfather's favorite wrestler, and here I am about to wrestle him in an actual match in front of a crowd. It was pretty cool.
In those days, how did a live audience compare in terms of the way they reacted to things that happened in the ring, things the wrestlers did? How's that reaction changed over the years, or has it?
Well, in the 80s, when I started, it was different because a lot of the so-called secrets of the business were still secretive. So they weren't smartened up as much as the fans are today. It's like Ricky says, let's don't insult people's intelligence. It's a show, it's entertainment. That's what we do.
I tell people very often, they ask me, they say, well, why do you like wrestling so much? Well, James, my answer is very consistent, and that is that it takes my mind off reality, and all I want to do is to be entertained and forget about aspects of everyday life. And for a couple hours at a live show, chances are, as long as I've turned that phone ringer off and silenced it and no vibration in the pocket or anything like that, it's nice to be able to just sit there and be taken away, frankly, for a couple of hours and not have to worry about the outside world. That's what it's done, or that's what happens for me.
And I agree. I miss being able, watching those shows, especially the Southeastern days. I love those. It was really good, really cool. I missed it, and the Jim Crockett, I was stationed in the Air Force out in North Dakota, so that was all the wrestling we got was the Turner 605. And my wife used to get mad at me because I would stay home to watch. Had to watch it. I just had to. Those guys never came out there. WWE came out, and we got to actually go see Hulk Hogan at the State Fair. He wrestled Don Morocco, which was a great match, by the way.
Larger than life. Love it. Now, that's another thing I think that's changed a lot over time. And again, you may disagree with me on this. Back many years ago, it seems like there was more emphasis on the individual wrestler. And now in most companies that I watch, it seems like they're just putting more emphasis on, hey, we're bringing wrestling to your town, or we're bringing sports entertainment to your town. And they often don't even say a whole lot more in advertising these days. So it's a constant change.
Well, are you watching WWE now?
Some, yes. I watched Raw this week. I don't catch every episode of any of their shows, but I see a lot of clips on the internet and try to catch Raw almost every week.
Or are you seeing the Woken Matt Hardy stuff?
Yes, I just saw they getting that rolled out.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I like it. And, my wife hates wrestling. We went with Ricky to WrestleMania last year because of the Hall of Fame. And we went to the show, and in the middle of the show, it was after the Hardy match. I think John Cena and his wife and The Miz, that mixed tag match that hit the ring. And Ricky calls me on the phone. He's like, I'm ready to go. Let's go to the hotel. And my wife's like, no, this is great. She didn't want to leave. But we laughed. You know, it was funny. But that was pretty cool. You know, so, I mean, that was an entertaining show. We had a blast what we got to see of it because we laughed in the middle of it. But, you know, they're very entertaining for sure.
And I did not get to attend that. I've only been to just a few WrestleManias, but the first one I went to was WrestleMania 23 in Detroit, Ford Field, over 90,000 people back in 2007. And you probably remember that was the night of the Battle of the Billionaires. Vince McMahon and his partner versus Donald Trump. And as far as the reason I'm bringing that up, James, is the energy in a crowd that size. It's interesting how it translates or doesn't on television or on pay-per-view or on an old DVD now, but at the time, it was frankly amazing. It was just a sea of people. I don't know that I've ever been in any larger crowd for any purpose. I know I haven't in my whole life. And something you don't forget. It's an incredible experience. Of course, this year, WrestleMania 34, New Orleans. A lot of things planned. I know Ricky Morton's going to be down there for WrestleCon and also for the House of Hardcore, correct?
Yeah, I think he'll be probably backstage at WrestleMania, too. You know, 'cause I know that WWE invited him back to come down.
That's awesome, man. And another thing about WWE, of course, they've rolled out the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2018. I guess they've announced everybody, or there may be a few more surprises. Hard to say. But I know just this week they announced USA Today actually broke the story on behalf of WWE that Mark Henry, world's strongest man with the company, I believe, since about 1995, is getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I'm really curious, James, who all's going to be inducting these folks this year. It's quite a class, isn't it?
Well, I think it's cool for the Dudleys, the Hillbilly Jim, some of those guys, really cool. And, you know, we met Goldberg at WrestleMania last year, him and his wife. What a guy. Really super nice. In fact, most of those people were. We were backstage the whole time, and it was that was really a cool experience. I don't know if I'd want to go back now because we probably couldn't be backstage. So that was an experience in itself. You know, we stayed in the same hotel where they stayed, and it was really cool. We got to meet everybody. You know, a lot of the old-timer guys I knew, you know, from years ago, but it was a real experience. And let me tell you something, I appreciate it. I want to thank Ricky and his family for letting us be a part of his family, go down and be a part of that show. And I want to say one more thing about Ricky Morton. I've never met a better-hearted man, I don't think, in my whole life. I think the guy would give you the shirt off his back, okay? He's one of the best people that I know. I don't know of a better-hearted man around than Ricky Morton.
I tell you, James Strange, respect is a very powerful word and one that I don't think gets enough attention in 2018. And respect is something I think that needs to be a more common aspect of daily life for many people. But I tell you, Ricky Morton has shown nothing but that to me as well. And I'm really, really glad that you both work so hard on the School of Morton. And frankly, I mean, the fact of the matter is I'm a ticket-buying fan. I enjoy seeing the variety at the show. And specifically, I want to look at this aspect for a moment, too. As far as students at the School of Morton, what's been the youngest and the oldest so far in terms of actual students?
I guess the youngest guy is Jungle Boy and Jake Allen. Yeah, it'd be nice to have some more younger kids come in and work with those guys, but they've been working each other for a year or more, wrestling. And sometimes they have the best match on the show. I mean, they really do a good job. They're both really, when Jungle Boy's 18 years old, I hate to see what he can do. He's really good. And Jake Allen, too. When these kids get older, there's something. You know, and then we have an old man, 50-year-old guy on our show, too, that had a wrestling dream. He's the guy that heard about us on the Stone Cold podcast, too. That was his dream, and, he's living his dream, man. That's what it's all about, giving these guys a platform to come and perform, and live their dream. They're 9 and 10 years old, Junk Boy and Jake. And I don't think our one guy's 50. That was a rib.
Now, who is this one guy? Can we reveal that?
It's Sir Derek Williams. You know what I'm talking about?
I sure do. Man, he takes me right back, honestly, to 1985. And I don't know if that's his goal or not, but that's what I feel like. It's just an unbelievable, time-transcending character.
Well, he's kind of playing Colonel De Beers in a way. We have some really good talkers, too. Maverick is a unique person in himself, completely. And Luscious Lawrence, who's really come into his character big time. Bronson Garrett, who's a great talker and wrestler in the ring. One of our most popular guys, BTSG, the bow tie guy. Ryan Price, who's really come along also and is a great talker and understands entertainment and listens. I know Ricky was helping him, and he listens very well.
And, James, that I enjoy promos. In fact, I probably spend way more time watching old promos than I should. But Facebook at School of Morton, I know a lot of the people you just named, you can see their promos there. Some have just blown me away, and also seeing the progression from many months ago to where the School of Morton students are able to enhance their game. How do they get from point A to point B with that?
Well, the biggest thing we do is training, and they're involved in every aspect. Our guys are involved in, our storylines. We have a crew of guys that work together and do storylines. We get together as a group. Even our students are involved in all that. All ages. Even one of our younger guys is involved in our booking crew. So they get involved in every aspect. And then once we lay out everything, it's obvious that we let Ricky Morton go over everything we've talked about, and then he'll tweak what he thinks is going to work and what's not, and he has the final say on everything we do. They're totally involved, and they've come up with some really good ideas. I like The Price is Always Right. That's been a lot of fun. We've had some fun with that. Yeah, we do some crazy stuff. We're going to get a little deeper with one of our ladies, Solano, Dark. So we're going to get into some stuff with that and Draco.
A lot of surprises, a lot of suspense. You've got me curious, and I'm going to be on the lookout for the future. Looking forward to it. James Strange, School of Morton. And now, if somebody were to want to become a student, or if somebody wants to see a School of Morton show, perhaps in their town, where would they reach out? What would they have to say? Where would they do that? I guess I need to ask.
Well, I get a lot of emails and phone calls daily, and I've got a frequently asked questions on rickymortononline.com, which should answer any question you might have. But basically, just show up on a Sunday or Tuesday, and we'll probably go back to Thursday as the summer goes on. It slows down a little bit in the winter, but we want to make sure everybody gets a lot of ring time. So that's why we were opening extra days so people could come and get their ring time in. A lot of schools, I know some schools where they'll have 50 people there and you might get one spot in for the day, when standing around the ring. And I don't like that. I like people to come in and be able to work. But if you go to Ricky Morton Online, or you can just call me, my number's on this webpage, and I'll answer any question you might have. Also, some of the dates we have coming up, I don't know if you guys went through them. Yeah, we have a show April the 14th in Irwin, Tennessee at the Armory. Some big matches. We got an Iron Man match with Bronson Garrett and BTSG for our X Division title. A tag team match with RT3 and JC Adams against the EGC 2.0, which is that old guy, Sir Derek Williams, and Sir Richard Dulé, And so that's another thing. We had a lot of people laughing about the Dooleys. But, the Dooleys have been one of our biggest baby faces.
They've been, and they still are over. They're still over.
So over. It's ridiculous. The Dooleys have been great. But then we're April 15th, we're back at the School of Morton for Morton Mania. And then April 24th, we'll be at North Green High School with Coach Buchanan again. And then April the 28th, we'll be in Johnson City Community Theater. That'll be our second show there. We had one at Christmas there. And then we're also, April the 6th, we're going to be in Knoxville for Rockin' Knox Wrestling, which all of our guys are working on that show. Luscious Lawrence won the tournament to win their title for the first time. And I think they're going to have a cruiserweight match for their cruiserweight title on the next show. That's at Oak Grove Theater in Oak Ridge. So that's one to come to. That's a great venue, too.
James Strange, I sure appreciate it, and I look forward to catching up with you down the road.
Yes, sir. I'll see you at our shows.
All right.
And I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. RickyMortonOnline.com, Facebook at School of Morton, Twitter at Real Ricky Morton, Twitter at Scotty is on, SCOTTY is on. If you have a question or things you want talked about on future episodes of the School of Morton podcast, just let us know. And James, since Ricky's at the WWE Performance Center, I guess you or I one need to do it. We just need to say, they're hanging from the rafters.